All right, welcome back to the O'Shea vlogcast. Tonight I have a very special guest, an excellent YouTuber in his own right, although he's not like as active as we are, but definitely he's been around even before me. A guy who is not afraid to speak his mind. He says what's on his mind, says what's on his heart. Xanathos Clutch. Did I say it right?
Xanathos Clutch, but it's good enough.
Xanathos Clutch. Okay, like his X is silent, right?
Replace the X with a C as in zebra, and you're good.
Okay. So Xanathos.
Yes, there you go.
All right. So Xanathos, let me just ask you a question. Kind of tell us about, yourself as a YouTuber, because you're pretty known within the circles of Black YouTube, but kind of refresh people who are maybe not familiar with you and your experience, as a Black man in the Black community.
All right, so I've been on YouTube, not quite under the Xanathos Clutch account. I actually have another channel which I won't tell people about because I don't want that channel to get flagged or trolled, but I'll take all the damages here. But as far as my experience, truth be told, I've been on YouTube ever since, 2006? But as far as the Black portion of YouTube, I've actually been on here around the turn of the decade, aka the first gender war with Sergeant Willie Pete, Politician, and all those people when they were going at it. And we all know how that ended.
Mm-hmm.
But I've seen it all go down. I don't want to paint myself as an old man on YouTube, but I've seen the rise of people like your Tommy Sotomayor's, your 100 Penguins Risen, those guys come into play, and how they basically set the Black portion of YouTube. Yeah, I'll say it, they set it on fire, did their thing, and now I'm seeing the evolution of the Black manosphere with you guys, like yourself, O'Shea, your Angry Mans, and Mr. Japs, all those other guys, and some of the more up-and-coming guys, or under the radar, underrated like guys like your Ron Wills, the Master, Sir, BGS, and more. Yeah, the list goes on. Wrangle TV, Raw, Solo TV. We all know who the big players are, and especially with this experience that I've noticed with a lot of these Black female YouTubers be committing or launching the second gender war as we know it. Quite frankly, this is sort of lit a fire in my ass to basically speak out on how I feel about certain things, particularly from the perspective of a non-stereotypical Black male. And my channel in general, with the perspectives of what goes on and what to do in the scenario of being a non-ghetto Black man. So for a backstory, I'm originally from Washington, D.C., lived there for damn near all my life. And then once I said enough was enough, went to Orange County, stayed there for a bit. It was sort of like DC, but now I'm currently here in Salt Lake City, Utah, where I am officially 1% of the population. And we're talking about Salt Lake City, the state of Utah. That's just, we'll emphasize that later.
Okay, so you have a very interesting experience. I thought me moving to Poland was a big change. You came from Washington, D.C., which is probably arguably the most Black place in the United States, and you moved to the most least Black populated state probably in America, which is Salt Lake City. Let me ask you this. Which place do you feel more comfortable with, and why?
Honestly, the job aside, which that's a whole nother story, I feel more comfortable in Salt Lake City.
Mm-hmm.
Being in Washington, D.C., you would expect that there would be a bunch of camaraderie, a bunch of respect amongst your brothers and sisters, as a lot of Black men like to say, like that, oh, we're all in this together, that kind of thing, kumbaya. And especially with the wealth, the Black wealth that Washington, D.C. has, you would expect that do something, who refuses to fall in the line of stereotypes, that you'd be even more appreciated. Well, in DC, it's sort of the opposite. Unless you're fitting into that stereotype, or unless you're trying to act like you're part of that stereotype, you basically get dogged out on. You basically get called all sorts of Uncle Toms, coons, trying to act white. And these aren't by hoodlums in Southeast or Inner Beltway PG County. These are people who are either in higher up positions or managerial positions, or people who own their own businesses, who live in nice neighborhoods, or relatively nice neighborhoods, like in Outer Beltway PG, Charles County itself. And quite frankly, I wasn't receiving the kind of camaraderie that, one, I was expected, and two, I was my own family and friends. Like, you know, just do the right thing, you'll be all right, people will get your back. No, a lot of the experience that I faced in DC, as I said, it's the typical experience of a classic black man plus some, in my opinion. I mean, I've, like, jobs that I've been fired from or have been threatened to be fired from, most of those experiences were due to other blacks, and basically due to other blacks with me because of personality issues or whatnot. So, and it wasn't just like, oh, he must not blah, blah, blah. No, a lot of that has to do with just, you know, hey, he's a threat. I'm not trying to have him take over my position. And yeah, we got to take care of him, this little Negro who thinks he's up to me. At least that's what I've received from my experiences in DC.
Mm-hmm. I mean, because, and this isn't to no offense, but this is a compliment. So don't take it that way. When I hear you talk, you remind me of myself, because you're very, very well spoken. You're very articulate, and I mean, I could tell that when I even heard your videos before. It seems like you would have no problem fitting in DC, because there are a lot of brothers like you in DC who do not fit that typical stereotypical image. You speak very well. You sound like you have a very high IQ. How can somebody like you, how can you not get along in a place like DC, where you have, Howard, University of George Washington, Georgetown, you have American, Catholic University. Why come Xanathos can't fit into any of those communities there?
Well, it's quite simple. I already told you, I already went to the black side of why I can't fit in, because let's be honest, a lot of people, a lot of the so-called black community has that I got mine, fuck you mentality. Mm-hmm. Or if you're positioned to take over that person's spot, even by the time he or she retires, they're still threatened with you. So that's the black side. Now, the white side is that you have to remember, Washington, D.C. is a very liberal place. It's like up there with San Francisco. You've seen a part of it. The gentrification that's going on in Washington, D.C. itself is basically trying to make it resemble San Francisco of the East Coast. So imagine a lot of SJW, progressive hipsters, and liberals moving in there. From my experience with liberals, a lot of them tend to, despite joining Black Lives Matter and doing all this other crap, a lot of them tend to hate blacks just as much, if not more, than supposedly your mainline conservatives do. And as a matter of fact, if you're a non-ghetto black person, they'll hate you even worse than a ghetto black person. I mean, the thing that scares a lot of liberals, your typical liberal, more than a group of black men on the block, is a single black man in a suit.
Mm-hmm.
And that's part of the reason why, those two things are the main reasons, along with the typical just DC quirks of Beltway politics in the office, mm-hmm. and the work mentality of DC, and just the traffic, cost of living, just the rudeness of people in DC. I mean, just far as I'm concerned, New York City is less rude than Washington, D.C.
Wow.
And D.C. is notoriously known for just being like, just having a collection of assholes.
Oh yeah, is it
So,
quite violent? Quite violent.
Well, I wouldn't say D.C. is as violent now as it once was. Yeah, back in the 90s, it was Detroit, it was the Chicago. But now it's like, as I said, a lot of the blacks or a lot of the poor people, a lot of them are getting pushed over to PG County and to a lesser extent Charles County. So a lot of that that's just getting pushed out east.
Mm-hmm. Well, let me ask you this, because I've always been told that if you want to find a good-looking black woman that will have something to offer, you go to two places: Atlanta and then also DC. So, I mean, listening to you, and I used to live in DC. Bunch of fat asses everywhere. I mean,
in a good way, right?
What'd you say?
In a good way, right? Not the when Negroes say, "Oh, she got a fat ass," though, and she's like a fucking Mack truck.
Yeah, no. I mean, because when I was, there, I mean, on the green line, on the red line, the yellow line, going to Virginia, it was everywhere, and there's a lot of women, to be fair, black women coming from all over the world to live in DC. So, I mean, Xanathos, who is a well-spoken black man, is a motivated black man. Surely the dating scene is working out for him, because your equivalent as a black woman should be there in DC, if not anywhere else. What's your response to that as far as your dating issues in the DC area?
Well, you would think so. You would think that, okay, a person like myself or like yourself would be able to find someone easy in Washington, D.C. Well, yes and no. Yes in that there are a lot of women who, from their careers, that they may not have time to, that's probably more in the no category, but there are women who are looking to just date casually or date in a long-term relationship kind of way. And the quantity is there. The quality and the standards are very high. Remember, Washington, D.C. has probably one of the highest percentages of black wealth in the country next to Atlanta. Henceforth, the reason why you got a lot of fine chicks with that ass. So, whereas in a place like Detroit or even Chicago, where the standard's like, okay, you got to have a car, you got to have your own place, and you got to $1,000, Washington, D.C., and I'm assuming Atlanta, has more of a collection of women or more of a percentage of women who demand you having some sort of luxury car, having not only just your own apartment and stay like downtown or somewhere nice, Georgetown, Arlington, whatever, but they want you to have your own goddamn mansion or penthouse. And don't forget, there's a $100,000 minimum income salary that you have to make after taxes before they even look at you.
Okay, well, I wouldn't doubt it. I mean, it sounds to be true. But let's talk about this, because before we started the podcast, we were talking about the difference between your dating life in Salt Lake City, which is all white, compared to what it was. I mean, I don't know if all you white women, but the population. But I mean, I got the sense that you are more well treated. You're treated better by the white women in Salt Lake City than you are by black women in DC. Can you elaborate on that and how that works?
Sure. So, I can probably prove this, but as far as the treatment of white women or non-black women in Salt Lake City, it is almost a 180. The income difference is like night and day in Salt Lake City, whereas in Washington, D.C., I had to either room with friends or have roommates in order to survive and live in the nicer areas. Here, I can actually get my own apartment near downtown, and it will cost me less than $1,000. So there's that going. And also, as I said, a lot of it is curiosity. A lot of white chicks in general who probably have never hung out with a black guy, or if they have, it was just in a non-private setting, like a classroom or a job, if at all. So you got that. And quite frankly, the dating scene is this. For a lot of the state, even a lot of non-DS people, have kids by the time you're 21, which leaves a shortage of women in general to date, at least women who I would consider qualified, at least from my standards today. Like, I'm not one who would date single mothers. I'm not one who would date, well, divorcees with kids, whatever. But you got to remember this. Outside of the population of people who are married, you have a lot of people who, particularly women, who are sexually thirsty for whatever. And when it comes to black men, especially, given the rumors and the legends, they want to know if it's true. Trust me, some of these women come from places that have 1,000 people, and the only minorities they have are like the one Native American kid and the kids and a couple of Hispanics. Trust me, there are rarely any blacks, if any, in some of the places that are even driving distance from Salt Lake City. And Salt Lake City, along with some of the other cities that are nearby, like West Valley, they are the places that have the most minorities. But still, it's like frustrated chicks, especially from places like BYU, who are just looking for anything, because from what I've heard, the guys there have no game whatsoever. They think they're entitled to the world and marry them on like the second date, literally. So alongside that, and you also have an untapped market of Latinas and Polynesian chicks whom I've dated while being out here as well. So don't forget about them. So if you want some color, trust me, it's out here as well.
Polynesian chicks. Were they big? I mean,
no, God, no. I make sure I am anti-fat, dude. I used to be 100. I used to be 270 pounds at one point. And right out of college, I was like, you know what, screw this shit. I'm going to lose the weight. Lost 70 pounds of fat within the first 6 months, and I've kept it off ever since. That was when I was in D.C., and it did make a difference to an extent. But now that I'm out here in the city, the results are just amazing.
Amazing.
I'm not just talking about like exercise-wise too.
You know, okay, let's take the conversation for a spin.
Sure.
We know about the reason why you came to Salt Lake City from DC. We know how your at least your personal or dating life has definitely improved for being in Salt Lake City. But now I want to talk about how your work life is, based off of you're not being the stereotypical black man that people are used to. How do people take you, at work, or what kind of things do they say to you? What kind of comments do they make? How does one treat Xanathos Clutch at work, being that he is not the typical stereotypical sounding Negro that's on television?
Well, Sarge, you got to remember that a lot of people, and I work north of here, so it's even more white, quite frankly. And to be blunt, I'm actually the only black person who works at my job. So there's a lot of pressure. If you put on a good impression, not just so I can save my ass, so that I guess I won't validate whatever prejudice they may have. But as far as treatment at work, remember, I'm probably like the only black person a lot of these people deal with on a daily basis in general. So, and alongside that, the treatment has been fair. Well, no, I take that back. My particular job, it's well known throughout the directorates that I work with. I won't try to give a inside of where I work, but it's well known that my directorate is particularly voting very corporate. So there are a lot of people within the good old boys club, and if you aren't part of that good old boys club, then they treat you like shit, or they're on your ass. Needless to say, boys club, and some people can say it's because of race, but I find it more because of religion. The LDS, I think a lot of people have questions about if I'm LDS or I have to convert, but not LDS. I don't intend on being LDS. And LDS basically stands for Latter-day Saints, which is Christ of Latter-day Saints, aka Mormonism. That's the former being the official name of the religion that has basically established a theocracy within the state. So 90% of the people I work with are LDS, and I'd say a good 80% of them live within that exact same county, or even Northdown, which is more rural and more LDS. And because of that, a lot of them tend to form their own little cliques and own little just groups. And yeah, we all work together. We all got to do what we got to do to finish the job. But if you're not part of that inner circle, you tend to basically get looked over when it comes to job opportunities, that sort of thing. And it's quite rampant throughout the state of Utah, which is why I say for people, if you're coming to Utah, first have a job in hand. The reason why I even came to Utah was because the job offer was while I was living in D.C. This was when I was looking for a job, and I stated to myself, you know what? I've always liked the West Coast or the Western United States. I always saw myself more at home in that part of the country, not necessarily Utah, but places like Colorado, places like Nevada, Arizona, all of the West Coast, California, Oregon, Washington, and Hawaii. I love those parts of the country, which I can do several videos about, quite frankly, and how black men, particularly black men, good black men, should the country than the East. I know you have Sacramento, but I got to some time in Oakland or something like that. But expand your horizon.
You still here? Looks like he may have froze. Xanathos? Okay, can you guys hear him? Because it seems like he might have froze or got cut off. All right, let's see if we can get him back. This is a good interview too. I like it. He keeps getting cut off, so I wonder what's happening. He said the devil's busy. I'm gonna wait for him to come back so we can continue. First of all,
all right, there we go. There we go. We're back.
Are you back?
Yeah, we're back. We're back. By the way, for you guys who are in the phones, the S7 sucks ass. So I'm calling from my backup phone, the Note 3, which if I didn't wasn't, I don't know. I had to upgrade, so whatever. I got this phone. The Note 3 is so old, but it's such a reliable phone.
It's even better. Like I can hear you in real time on this particular. It's like real fast. This one is.
Oh, really? So the other phone was slower?
Yeah, it was lagging.
Oh.
This is like really good.
Yeah. So I know which one I'm going to be using to record video on from here on out.
Yeah. Record it on this one because it's clear as day.
Nice. And there isn't an echo from your voice from when? Is it?
No.
So yeah, I was wearing the headphones and I was wondering just to avoid any sort of echo repetition. Anyway, all right. So as I was saying about the Western United States, I love this part of the country because there's so much to do. The weather is so much better, and the race relations toward or the racial treatment towards blacks is way better than it is out east or back east. Because let's be honest, in the East Coast, no matter where you are, the Northeast, Southeast, Midwest, the black man is public enemy number one.
Mm-hmm.
Here, it's mostly Latinos, but yeah. I mean, a lot of people say, well, they're going after our brown brothers, blah, blah, blah. And yeah, that sucks. But here's the thing. A lot of those brown people aren't really standing up and rallying when shit happens to blacks. So my response is like, you know what? You're on your own, man. Yeah, I'm not going to join the crowd and call you a spick or a bean or anything like that. But hey, you're on your own. I've seen the treatment that blacks have towards brown or browns have towards blacks in LA, and that's all I pretty much need to see. I mean, until I call that shit out, it's like, hey, I can deal with you from a distance, but hey. And yeah, it's all black and brown unity, but yeah, it's all good until a black boy talks to a brown girl. So
yeah, that's true. Very true.
So as far as I'm concerned, us not being the niggers in this part of the country, I would take full advantage of that. And as a lot of people say, you got to get in where you fit in.
Let me do this while we're in the chat. So let's do this. So want everybody to subscribe to Xanathos Clutch here in the chat. So guys, go ahead and get into the chat. Click on his profile. Let's get some subscribers to him. He doesn't really do YouTube for subscribers like that. He doesn't really care, to be honest. But we do want to support. He has good content. He has some strong opinions that you don't hear every day. So definitely subscribe to his channel. So when you go ahead and hit the subscribe button, say sub, like we always do for the people that we bring on, say sub, hit the subscribe button. All right, thanks Marcus, thanks Seth Maurice. Shout out to Marcus Brown. I got to get Marcus on here too, man. Bronze Beauty, my man Seth Maurice. Marcus, we gotta hook up, man, by next week and get him on here. He's another good YouTuber. And
before we go on, Jean-Pierre, whoever the hell you are, the nameless, first of all, you don't even have a fucking picture, so I'm not going to address you. Yeah, he was just saying, you know, the typical sellout, why do you sound so white? Well, I'll give you a quick answer. Well, you know what? I wasn't born on a fucking plantation, nor a fucking rap video. It's as simple as that.
Let's talk more about that because, like, on my presentation, and I don't know if you remember, because you've been around before I was even on YouTube. Do you remember when I first came out, like, as a YouTuber?
Yes, at least the first time I saw you, and I want to make a comment about it. You originally came out, as you stated, to go after people like Mad Bus Driver X, Painless Risen, those guys making roast videos, calling them all sorts of coons, buffoons, and all sorts of stuff. And it's been a year later, and you yourself have become a coon.
I mean, I was on YouTube trolling people, man. I wasn't taking this shit serious, man. I didn't think this was gonna go nowhere. But when I first came on, I didn't curse for the most part. I like now I have more of a, I would say more of a black following because I present a little bit more of my real personality. When I first came on, I wasn't making no jokes or nothing. I was real, just, you know, using my educated kind of ideas. So like when somebody would always tell me when I was coming, you know, up, I heard the same thing that you probably always heard. You sound like a white guy. You sound white. Why are you acting
right? Right. I'm here.
Okay.
I'm just getting my charger, but I'm still here.
Okay. Are you back on the other phone now?
No. I'm still on this phone. I just turned the video off, so I can just walk up, get my charger.
Okay.
Yeah, but go on ahead with your question.
So what do you say to those people when they say, "Oh, Xanathos, man, you sound like a white guy. You know, you sound intelligent. Don't get me wrong, but are you trying to be white?"
Quite frankly, the fact that they're saying I'm trying to be white shows how much they don't value themselves being black.
Mm-hmm.
Where is it, and this is my philosophy, where is it written that a black person has to speak as if he doesn't have any sort of intelligence, wit, or education about himself in order to be considered black in the first place?
Mm-hmm.
This isn't about being black or white or anything else. Every other person throughout, especially in this country in particular, they are not criticized of having some sort of Anglophone tone, as a lot of people like to state, in order to be seen as such and such. Like the Latinos outside of the barrio, they don't criticize people who speak proper English. As a matter of fact, they congratulate people who can learn proper English and become bilingual. Same thing for like your Indians, your Asians, whoever. I mean, you probably don't even get this with the African immigrants. We sure you don't get with African immigrants, nor Caribbean immigrants.
Mm-hmm.
It is only African Americans who have this issue of you can't speak white if you want to be down with us, because they're fighting the war of yesteryear. This isn't the 1960s where you got to raise your fist up and say black power and fuck white in order to prove that you love your people. That fight is over. Today we're in the new fight. And in a lot of cases, it's not a race war, as a lot of you want to think, a lot of you pro-blacks want to think. It's a civil war. And the events of the past few weeks have proven that, if anything, the enemy that we have to look for is within our own backyard.
Mm-hmm. 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 Well, yeah. Let me ask you this. Thomas Sowell, the great conservative, hits the nail on the head that you just said, and which was, during slavery, the best of black people were respected. Those who could, who were maybe in trade, or those who could read, but white people separated the smart blacks from those who were not so bright, and then made those who were lesser kind of angrier at the more intelligent blacks, because the intelligent blacks would have been those who could have caused a revolution. And we saw what happened with the more intelligent blacks in Haiti, how they defeated the French. And kind of ever since that time, every intelligent black person who speaks the King's English, even till today, has been called, sellout or a coon. Do you think that black people who say these things about you, are they just jealous? Are they upset? Do you think?
I think it's a mixture of a lot of things, some of which can include jealousy, envy, anger, misunderstanding. But I think a lot of it is, when I look back, a lot of it basically is not feeling included. And everyone eventually wants to feel included in something, whether it's a race or a country or a culture or whatnot. And I feel as if a lot of black people who aren't part of that, particularly those who may have not made it out the hood, which I'll be honest, in many cases, it's due to their own mistakes and own actions, but still, those who have not gotten or what they think they received in the opportunity to get out of the hood, a lot of them do feel a sense of just abandonment. Mm-hmm. As I don't know, was it Obsidian quoted one guy, said there's such thing as the abandoned class or whatever. Mm-hmm. And quite frankly, with abandonment, a lot of them just feel as if they need to lash out at someone and blame, whether it's their fault or not their fault, blame everything that they faced on someone else. And quite frankly, I'm trying to hold back my arrogant side of saying part of it is jealousy, because even though I talk white, speak white, For the most part, I did attend black schools, or predominantly black schools. And from what I've noticed, particularly, especially in middle and parts of high school, a lot of people who tend to fall short in life, and I'm talking about those who end up getting knocked up or going to jail or that sort of thing, a lot of it was just because they, quite frankly, didn't want to succeed. I mean, it's as simple as that. I know a lot of pro-blacks love to use the point of white supremacy and the white man, having his boot on my neck and all this other shit. But quite frankly, from my experiences, the blacks who tried to do something, even those who say just wanted to just graduate from high school and just get the hell on out of there and start working, they were criticized for not following code, not keeping it gangsta, or not keeping it real, as they like to say back in the day. And this was just something in which this was the standard pattern of thought, especially in places like PG County, where I actually spent most of my life in. And this even went to family, to the point in which, I don't talk to a lot of family members anymore. And that's one of the reasons. It's particularly female family members, and especially those of my age. Because it's like, if you don't fit into that pattern, then yeah, you're lame, you're a cornball, all this other shit. And it's a shame that even people of my own so-called flesh and blood have that same sentiment about me. So quite frankly, yeah, it's, as I said, also you have the matriarchal thing going on, and that's a whole nother subject within itself. But the thing that made it easier for me moving out to a place like Utah was that, there wasn't a lot of support. There wasn't a lot of encouragement to make yourself better, even if it's just to go to the military, go to trade school. There is a standard, there is a code, there is something that is not talked about how the black community, as a majority of it, is very anti-intellectual, very anti-productive, and will go after everyone who has some sort of potential to get the hell out. And that's why I appreciate guys like yourself and others in the black manosphere and those who came before you, calling out the bullshit for what it really is.
Let me also ask you that. I'm gonna ask you some other questions. This is a great interview. I mean, I've been up since about 5 this morning, and so I'm going on almost 19 hours. But I'm very into this conversation. What's the difference between the black manosphere now versus like maybe a few years ago, when you did have like Painless Risen going real hard, Mad Bus Driver X going real hard. You had guys like David Carroll. What's the difference between the YouTubers of now in the black manosphere than of those maybe 2 years, 3, 4 years ago? What's the difference that you see?
Oh, there's one main difference. It's cohesion and collusion, and basically unity. And that's where I have to give a lot of you guys credit. Beforehand, particularly during the black manosphere of yesteryear, where you had 4 main players, Tommy Sotomayor, as we all know who he is, David Carroll, followed by Painless Risen and Aqueezy 100.
Mm-hmm.
Now, these were the main 4 guys who were speaking on a lot of black female fuckery and a lot of bullshit that just happened that affected blacks, particularly black men. And back then, regardless of the messages being as potent, as powerful as the message that you guys have, the one issue or one flaw that I saw, especially with the biggest of them all, was the lack of aligning, the lack of, I dare say, unity.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it wasn't that. In the case of Painless Risen, especially him, and David Carroll and the Aqueezy 100, I can't say it wasn't because they thought they were better than anyone else. As a matter of fact, throughout the latter part of that stage, Aqueezy 100 and David Carroll would do collaboration videos in which they would just call out the fuckery and anyone who went after them. So, and Painless Risen, he was his own man, but I'm sure he would have been willing to do so if he had the time. But the point is this: when it came to the old black manosphere, the old Negro manosphere, there wasn't a collective effort of men working together for one objective or a few clear objectives to basically redeem the voice, redeem the reputation, and finally put a voice on the internet for Black men.
Mm-hmm.
This is where I see you guys improving on that, taking what they did and bring it up to a whole new level, to the point in which, yeah, you all look as if you're going to be on the verge of really doing some big things. This isn't ass kissing or anything like that, but I really do see it within this group versus whereas the other group, where they were great men, they had great voices, they said real shit, but yeah, they were very vulnerable to a lot of opposition, a lot of haters, a lot of roasters, as some of these men would like to call themselves.
LA.
And LA isn't even the worst of them all, man. There were some of those guys who were just, if I saw them right here and I can get away with it, yeah.
Yeah.
In that dude's case, LA, he's just a fucking prankster. He just runs his mouth. Right? Shout out to LA.
It's funny because, like, even you, like, when I had talked about Payless, you made I mean, we're talking nice now. I mean, people don't know we have not always liked one another. You did a video I can remember in particular. I actually commented, man, you know, I like your stuff, man, but you wrote, I think you roasted me. It was like a basketball game in the background, and it was pretty brutal. It wasn't like, it was so bad. I was like, hey, dude, you know, like, I actually like your stuff, man. Like, what's going on? You know what I mean? I can remember that. So
well,
we have to come a long way. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
And here's the thing: if you know me and anybody knows me, there's people I still don't like. I'll come out and say who I don't like. One of them is Reluctant Nobby.
Who? Reluctant
Nobby.
Oh.
So yeah, exactly. He ain't even like, yeah, I don't even know that. That nigga whack, son. You're whack. Another dude, David. You know, I have David Carroll himself. Even if the guy I praise a lot. But the thing about it is, when it comes to, and there's other people too. But when it comes to the fact that brothers are trying to do something. Even Tommy Sotomayor, and he doesn't like me at all. The fact of what he's going through with Ebony, I got to stand in solidarity with him. I got to stand in solidarity with David Carroll when he's on that list. You know what I mean? I got to stand in solidarity with, and the thing about it is that the push that I see that's different now is the manosphere has morphed into more of a lifestyle type of presenter. And it's about like guys like Minister Jap or Ron Wills or Obsidian. It's more of the content now is more about lifestyle. It's more about you know, even the Negro Manosphere is about lifestyle, like the finance section or whatever. It's now about how Black men can improve everyday life. Guys like David Carroll and Painless Rhythms were excellent kind of like Black community critics. And the guys nowadays are still critics, but they're trying to improve the life. Like Ron Wills is definitely a guy who does that. He's always, BGS is about improving your everyday life. That's where it's going now, I see. That was different than, you know, where it was before. It's like, you know, you got guys giving dating tips, guys like Donovan Sharp. And that's kind of why I see it as being pushed, where now brothers are trying to give everyday information that could better help people versus just criticizing. I don't know. Is that what you see a little bit different now?
That is another thing that I do see that it's a bit different now. And also, yeah, the first thing that I stated, whatchamacallit, Mr. Marcus A. Yeah, I respect his grind, but he ain't trying to get props to no up-and-comers. That was one of the weaknesses towards the first version of the Black Manosphere, which all of you are doing right now, which is really, I think, going to make the Black Manosphere explode. But the other thing that I do see is literally solutions. I think what all of you are pinpointing to with these lifestyle guidances of Jap's videos of how not to deal with single moms, or which women not to deal with, your videos of just what to look out for and how to hustle, like get up early, be committed, and all that stuff. Rom Wills, especially, like just tells the nature of women, along with Solo TV 84, you know, how to deal with white women, all that other kind of stuff. Yeah, I think a lot of it now is evolving to like what makes the classic black man, what makes you, what can elevate you to that level. And quite frankly, I'm sort of picking up that with some of my recent videos, but yeah, I guess I'm still sort of clinging on to the old school critique kind of way. So yeah, I'm sort of transition myself, and I'm slowly upgrading to the new school of how the black manosphere does business.
Man, you know, and that was my and no, I like to critique too, man. And that's what I was noticing. Like when I was trying to come up, nobody would really reach out to you. Like, you know, even this time last year, and this is March. So this time last year, I had maybe, believe it or not, like 1,500 subscribers this time last year, if that. But when I left here in June, I had 2,500. So I was putting out some good stuff, but it wasn't a lot of people who was like, if you're trying to like reach out and work with somebody or just trying to get advice, well, nobody really fuck with you like that.
Right.
That's what I do see that's different now. You know, like for example, and you know, you've been around for forever. I just couldn't see like, oh, I'm you know, like one of those guys like, oh, I'm gonna have a hangout with you know, I'm gonna you know, one of my subscribers and discuss his situation. Like I didn't see those guys doing stuff like what we're doing now. And now it's an overall platform where everybody can come and share their experiences, and we're trying to give it back. And to be fair, you were a good critic. I mean, I go back and listen to some things you used to say. I'm like, okay, well, how can we change it? Even David Carroll, I used to listen to some of the things he would say, and I would try to go back and change it, and then I found out there's nothing that you can do to make David Carroll happy. It's impossible. You'll find something he had to say, which is cool. But let me get back to you. As far as you know, your experience, what do you tell? You know, if you could tell a young black man between the ages of 18 and 30 about the everyday black woman and what you've experienced and how you've been treated right now in Salt Lake City by other races of women, what do you tell them, black men? Who do you tell them to date if they ask you?
As far as dating is concerned, do not date by color. And like, I'm going to take this from the bed wenches. Get ready. Don't date by color. Just like they say, date by content.
Oh man.
But seriously, from guys, if you're looking for women to date, know the kind of women you're dating, whether it's black, white, or otherwise. As far as black chicks are concerned, I mean, you have the entire Negro manosphere to tell you what kind of black women to date and what not to date, which, yeah, granted, in America, it could amount to like 90% of black women not to date, at least not seriously. But when it comes to women outside of the race, like white women or Latinos, Asians, whatever, they have their hang-ups too. They have their qualms too. Trust me. If you look at MGTOW right now, a lot of them are complaining about the bullshit American white women do. And say, American white women are following in the path of American black women. They're only like 20, at best 30 years behind. So, like, if all of you who are rushing to date white women because black women are so bad, know that you're basically dating your mothers, in a sense. So
talk about that, because I mean, you're in Salt Lake City. I mean, I'm sure brothers is like, man, I wish I was out there with him. What are the qualms that come with dating white women? Because a lot of us, I mean, you saw my girl here before I came. I didn't know you were. you were on and she was in the room.
I saw what you were working with, and I can vouch that you are working with. No, yes, it's nice. The site is nice.
Oh, but thank you. But I guess because a lot of people think that the white women, don't have the problems, or at least the problems that black women don't have. They don't understand. Talk about from your experience what the truth is about white women and their qualms and what problems they do have.
Okay, I gotta sit down for this one. Sit down on my lazy boy like this.
Oh man.
For all you men out there who think white women are the shit and are you gonna be your saviors, this is not the 1950s, people. White women have just as much hang-ups. Okay, maybe not as much as black women, but they got plenty of hang-ups indeed. For starters, yeah, there's the race thing. A lot of them, especially if you want to be treated seriously, if you're looking for a long-term relationship, a lot of white women will not have you meet their friends, their family members, well, especially family members, maybe friends in order to show off. Yeah, I get it, and whatever. But family members, they'll try to avoid you from meeting them for multiple reasons, whether it's because you're black or because you're not LDS, in my case, and being in Utah. So I think if there's something that's worse than being black in Utah, it's, besides being Polynesian, but being non-LDS. Hey, look, I love my Pacific Islander chicks. They're mad. They're the ones who aren't fat are the fucking shit. They probably got, if you're looking for something that's closest to black woman features, go for Polynesians. But on the point of white women, first, there's that. There are the usual hangups that you expect. Second, I would say culture. A lot of them are not exposed when it comes to black culture, and at least in a genuine sort of way. Now, for me, yeah, I grew up in a very in a black school, but particularly the people I hung out with, people I went to work with, in a way, it was sort of whitewashed. So culturally, I sort of am not the kind of person who really needs someone who understands the black culture in a sense in order to date them. I mean, some people do, and hey, more power to you guys. But as far as the hangups of white women, especially in Utah, you got to remember, a lot of Utah, once again, is white fucking trash. And you're going to get a lot of single mothers, white single mothers, or white women straight up from the trailer parks who think getting away for a weekend is basically getting high on meth. And alongside that, though, even those who aren't in the trailer parks, you will have some white women, not as bad as it is on the coast, either coast, but you will have some white women who are all about that SJW feminist mentality. Now, it's good out here in that you don't have a lot of that because the LDS society and the LDS culture sort of discourages that. But trust me, the liberals that you run into out here are super liberal to the point in which it's like, yeah, unless you want to have something casually with them, then yeah, you'd rather not deal with them outside the bedroom. Now, that's not all white women, but there's a good amount that are like that. And there's a good amount of white women I've ran into who are great, who either they're great for dating, long-term dating. They're great for being friends with benefits. You know, you hang out with them, go to a Jazz game or go to a U game, or U being the University of Utah. And then afterwards, you go to the bar or you go back to the place you do your thing. I mean, right now, I'm sort of in the position which I'm not looking for like a wife or anything like that, which, yeah, granted, Utah isn't the best place to be single in general if you're a man. But right now, I don't have a problem finding women who are just about like, hey, you know what? I just want to hang out, have some fun, you know, be friends with benefits, see where it goes from there.
Well, let me ask you this: if you were Mormon and you were black, do you think you would still have maybe some of the issues with the girls who wouldn't want to bring you home? And the reason why I'm asking is I have a guy that's LDS at my school, actually from Brazil, and his wife is white. So I want to know, does LDS discriminate in your opinion, like if you're black and if you're trying to get with another Mormon chick?
I would say the LDS Church discriminates, but as far as discrimination based on race, historically, yes, the LDS Church has been a very white-centric church. And the history of the LDS does include having slaves being sent over to Utah. There was a brief period in which slavery was practiced in Utah, but was quickly dropped around the Civil War. And yeah, I guess Utah sided with the Union, and as well as a lot of these other Western states. But as far also the big thing that a lot of people will tell you about the LDS Church is that they didn't allow black men to become priests until around the late 70s. So there are a lot of people who are around, a lot of LDS people who were around prior to that era, but ever since then, they've been a bit more inclusive, at least on the surface, of trying to include minorities, ethnic minorities. Right now, they're doing a big initiative to welcome immigrants or refugees, particularly, like say, like, oh, we're all children of God, blah 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 blah. Don't turn away refugees, blah 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 blah. So they're somewhat liberal when it comes to ethnicity. And I have run into several African and Caribbean LDS people, not necessarily African Americans. I wonder why.
It's funny you mentioned that. When Liberia was going through a civil war not too many years ago, there were actually some LDS missionaries in Liberia that were helping people escape over to Sierra Leone. That's actually documented. So what you're saying is true. There are a lot of a good amount of Africans who are in the LDS Church. Go figure. I mean, I didn't know that until I saw this movie, and what you're saying is completely right. What is your plan as far as Salt Lake City? Do you feel that you can stay there?
So as far as Salt Lake City goes, I'll tell you this. As far as my plan with my job, I'm trying to change as soon as I can. And that's a whole nother issue within itself. And honestly, that job alone has probably given me a bad taste of everything north of Salt Lake City, Davis County, Weber County, Box Elder, Cache Valley, as they like to call it. I mean, that's like super LDS or super white trash. And quite frankly, if you're black or if you're not from there, don't even bother going up there, because there's nothing up there except just clicky, mousy, backwards minded people. And I'm not trying to say they're all like that, but the ones who aren't, they even realize that that place is shit, and they're trying to get to Salt Lake City at the very least. Or if not out the entire state. But as far as my future plans in Salt Lake City goes, I'm not rushing to get out of Salt Lake City per se, because Salt Lake City itself, for the most part, people don't make you feel as if you're unwanted. That's one of the reasons why I decided to move to was willing to relocate to Salt Lake City, was because during my time here, which was actually done, I did that. I bought a plane ticket right before I got the job offer here.
Wow.
And just to see how Salt Lake City was. Yeah. When it was basically all but confirmed that they would give me this job, I bought a plane ticket, saw how it was, and then I realized that, okay, at least within Salt Lake City, they aren't trying to make you feel uncomfortable and call you all sorts of niggers and shit, or have this passive-aggressive act towards you, unlike how it is in Salt Lake. But Salt Lake, the city itself, and even places like south of Salt Lake City, like south in Salt Lake County, like, yeah, they're cool with blacks for the most part. As long as you don't betray the stereotype, as long as you keep your nose clean, you're good. Nobody will mess with you. And as a matter of fact, there'll probably be people who would be even more nice to you. One, because they want to prove that they aren't racist, at least towards blacks. They're like, oh shit, a black person. This is like the first black person I've seen in 3 weeks. Let me not ruffle any feathers. Let me prove that we're not like that. We're not like Arkansas, even though we're just as white as they are.
Right.
But well, yeah. There's that. And But as far as just moving, like I've been applying to several jobs and within this part of the country. And as I stated, I'm planning on probably ending up going somewhere else within America, whether it's like, say, Denver, San Diego, the Bay Area, Seattle, Portland, maybe LA, maybe Phoenix, maybe Vegas. But my future plans probably includes being in one of those cities because those places are sort of places where I feel truly at home and feel like an American for once versus the East Coast where, as I said, I have plenty of stories on why I just couldn't stand living east of the Mississippi River.
Mhm.
So for me, it was more like, and just to give the minor backstory, being from DC, I was born during the heart of the Marion Barry regime.
Oh shit.
And yeah. And a lot of people state that, oh, Marion Barry, he's mayor for life, blah, blah, blah. They treat him like a saint, especially now that he's dead. Like, a part of me wanted to make a video just basically cooking the shit out of him when he died. But I was in DC at the time. I was like, let me not do this video. And so that.
It would have fucked you up.
Oh, yeah, they do more than that, trust me. But, yeah, as far as that's concerned, when it comes to Marion Barry and his legacy, I think a lot of what he's done put a lot of blacks back to the point in which they no longer have control of their own city, or our own city, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when he left office, you have I think you remember Mayor Anthony Tony Williams, and then you had Mayor Fenty. Those were the guys who really ramped up the gentrification of Washington, D.C., and were pushing out a lot of black people into places like PG County, Charles County, and beyond. And the secret is that what they won't tell you is that a lot of the people who are being pushed out through the gentrification aren't the hoodlums in Southeast. These are either working class people who can't afford the hikes in property rent or property prices or property taxes, or senior citizens, which in that case is a damn shame. But yeah, as far as Salt Lake, I'm not rushing to leave, but if I get a job opportunity outside, I'll definitely take it.
Okay. Let me do this. Again, let's get the likes on the video up. Let's go ahead and get the subscribers up for my man Xanathos Clutch. Like I said, he actually came out a little early, took time off because we've been wanting to do this hangout for a long time. Actually, I'm gonna have him back to do a part 2 to this. We were just kind of missing it for the last 2 months. We've been emailing for whatever reason. So we want to thank him for actually him coming over and sharing his experience. We also want to subscribe to his channel. So for those of you go into the chat, let's look at the post I just made. Click on his name, hit sub, hit the bell. Let me know that you've subscribed to his channel by putting sub in the comment section. So you'll find a lot of good information. Like I said, he's definitely a social critic. So some of the things he says, well, if you watch my channel, you should not be too sensitive. But he definitely says some shit that'd be like, did he just say that? So you definitely want to do that. Let's get the subscribers up. He did. It's not. Let me tell you why I have a lot of respect for what he did. Him moving from DC to Salt Lake City is like, I'm actually second when I'm thinking about myself coming from Sacramento moving to Poland, because DC is so black. Sacramento is a little bit black, but coming to Poland probably might be even easier than going to Salt Lake City. That's probably what I know. It's not too many Negroes who gonna do that, make that move. Which is going to DC nigga to Salt Lake City, fuck that. Most niggas like, you know what, I want the job, keep the job. So I gotta commend him for that. Is there anything else that you wanted to say, Xanathos?
So as far as just anything else for black men, the main reason why I moved out here was because I didn't see there was much for me in Washington, D.C., despite the six-figure jobs that are falling out of the sky. All right, maybe not so much now with Trump being in office, but as far as just going where you see yourself and where you see yourself fit in, that was the main reason that drove me to this part of the country. Not necessarily Utah, but not necessarily Salt Lake City, but this part of the country in general. And I mainly did this as sort of a psychological and mental move to help me in that realm, because beforehand I was just fucking miserable. I'll be honest, because of my abrasive personality of just refusing to be a stereotype and basically being as blunt as I am about not being a stereotype. I didn't have a lot of friends growing up, besides those I worked with or went to college with. And said a lot of those guys, they weren't from PG County nor DC. Like, I'll be honest, when I moved out here beforehand, I was living in Northern Virginia. And if all of you know about blacks in Northern Virginia, a lot of people, and a lot of black people in DC and Maryland state shame blacks who moved to Northern Virginia and say, oh, why are you living over there with the whites and the Republicans, all that stuff, even though Virginia, particularly Northern Virginia, is very diverse and is very democratic. Actually, that Northern Virginia is the reason why the state went Democratic 3 times. But yeah, that's a whole nother story. But as far as black men, if you find yourself in sort of a rut, a mental rut, and which done everything else in your power in order to improve your life, and shit still isn't working, it may be time for geographical change. And there's nothing wrong with that. I overall don't regret it. Yeah, granted, my job, it's sort of iffy, but honestly, I think it's mostly because of it being 30 miles from where I am right now. And as I said, looking for a job within the city. Hopefully get that sometime soon. And 1, cut my commute, and 2, be around people who have actually traveled outside of fucking Utah. But yeah, if you need a move, just as what I did, just as what O'Shea did, do it, and you will regret it.
You know, and I what he just said is so powerful. Like I said, in the new age of the black manosphere, where we're actually trying to, improve lifestyles instead of critiquing them all the time. What you just said is so true. A lot of brothers think that, if I can't make it here, then, well, I might as well not go anywhere else. And sometimes you're not able to do things, maybe not say you're not capable of doing things, but sometimes it's good to get away from the family that you're at. It's good to get away from the friends. Sometimes you need to put yourself in an uncomfortable position. And trust me, that's how you grow, because you have no choice but to fucking grow. When you go somewhere and your mommy's not holding your hand and daddy's not holding your hand, and you're away from all of the security and safety that you're used to, you grow up real quick. You do things that you never thought you could do. And that's why, you need more black men taking those type of risks, which is something may not be available to you where you live, but it may be available to you in Salt Lake City. I couldn't get into medical school in the United States. I talk about it all the time, but Poland gave me a chance. In me coming here, I could tell you that, I have this, as much money as I need. I'm not rich or anything. My rent's paid for 6 months. I've been to countries that I've never even thought I would go. And it's just that, I was capable of doing this. Xanathos was capable of doing that in DC, but so you got to get away from that negativity, brothers. And that's what he's telling you. You got to get away from that negativity. You got to give yourself a shot to make it someplace. And listen, this brother was in DC. He went to college, okay? He went to great schools, but amongst black people we thought could help him, he's now living at the top of his game amongst all conservative white people. All right, it just goes to show you, if you're a person that can present yourself, you're serious, You're gonna have a job. You're gonna be able to do things. You know. So
And
go ahead.
And as far as making it, like as I stated, if I can make it, like I think moving to Salt Lake City or in Utah in particular has given me a lot of just I guess self-confidence to the point in which I know that if I can make it here over a year plus, one without getting fired, two without losing my house, and three with having an array of women I can choose from. Now, as far as guy friends, yeah, that's a whole nother story. I think there are a lot of them. They're just a bunch of sly haters because, you know, it's like, oh, I'm appearing with all these fine women, and it's like, oh shit, he's stealing our women, blah, blah, blah. And it's actually sort of one of the reasons why I have been going into the alt-right in the past year is because I do see that there is an alt-right presence. So along with the pro-blacks who I usually go after, granted, a lot of them were licking their wounds still after Hillary Clinton's loss. But now I'm sort of getting into that alt-right ass. And yeah.
So you're gonna be so now you have a commentary on the pro-blacks, which I know you historically have always kicked pro-blacks asses in Hotep sense. I know that for a fact. That I remember.
Yeah, them the SW liberals, and now you got the alt-righters who, ever since Trump has won the election, they've gotten emboldened, and I'm like, all right, you know, Sean Spencer and you little butt buddies, all right, try that shit in my channel and see what happens.
Yeah, so I'm definitely gonna check that out. Sometimes I read Breitbart, and I try to come up with it. Breitbart, man, they write some interesting things. So I can't catch something that, I mean, I guess some of the most derogatory things that I saw came from Milo Yiannopoulos himself. I mean, for a guy that's supposed to be gay, he did a lot of gay bashing. I don't know if he was trolling, but I think Breitbart trolls everybody. I mean, I'm not sure what Breitbart's agenda really is. Breitbart is just like the kings of fuckery. But needless to say, I really do thank you for coming on, man. I want to do a part 2 to this sometime next week. I know we've been on. Let me see, how long have we actually been on right now? Almost 70 minutes, 75 minutes before we talk a little bit more. You guys know that I did, so these are interviews I did this week. So Saturday I had Steve Williams. Sunday I had Aaron Clary. Did you hear that? Did you see that interview?
I definitely saw that one. I made sure to see that one.
Yeah, he's a cool guy, Aaron Clary. Monday we had Rashida Strober. Tuesday we had J.R. Wisdom. Wednesday I took it off. Today we had you. So I had like 5 interviews in the last 6 days. Then my blog season that I'm starting right now, that I'm walking around filming my GoPro, that finally came. 2 episodes came back from that. I uploaded those. Tomorrow I have an exam in the morning, and then me and my girlfriend, we're going to, my fiance brother, we're going to Warsaw, at the capital city. I'm gonna spend the day with her. And then I gotta come back, and then I think I told Steve that I probably won't be able to make it Saturday. I'm gonna take some days off, and Sunday we'll be back with Steve Dean Williams, and then hopefully we can come back with you next week.
Definitely, man. I've seen the hustle, man, and more than anything else, I have to congratulate you on your hustle. Like, you have, besides making a 180 with the coonery, you definitely stepped up your game when it comes to this channel. And quite frankly, I have not seen a meteoric rise, at least on the black side of YouTube, as I have seen with your channel.
Oh, thank you. I mean, I'm really trying to step it up. You know, I think people got kind of tired. I mean, I still produce my own ranting and commenting, but I realized that there were other people that were probably much more versed than me in certain things, like such as you and Steve Dean Williams, Alan Roger Curry, So I use my channel and the people that I can get to add more information to the public that I don't know. And so that's what we're trying to do here. And I don't know if you guys saw my blog. I finally got that up. We did have some problems with the site for anybody that wanted to know. For whatever reason, the site's intermittent coming up and down. So we're still working. Be patient with this. We'll have the site back up full time. But I thank you for coming on. I'm gonna get some rest because I got to get up in probably a few hours and cram for the remainder of this test. But if we can get together sometime next week or maybe next weekend, I'd love to have you back. And once again, before I leave and before he leaves, let's go ahead and sub Xanathos Clutch. So let me go ahead and get his user. I think we had at least 20 people so far that went in sub so far, but let's go ahead and get the subs up here. So go in the chat, you guys. Do me a favor. You see I have his link in there. Go in there, click on his channel, hit sub, comment below. Shout out to Keith White. I see Marcus in here. Hi, Def. Rob Marsh. Go ahead.
Yeah. Now, shout out to all you guys who at least have checked out my channel. Definitely those who've subbed. And as far as the amount of subs that I'll get due to this interview alone, I will promise to make sure I will give out more content to you guys. Yeah, I usually upload once a week, but to be honest, like I'm not the kind of person who would probably be who wants to upload and just see 100 views. Shout out to the guys who make 100 views. You guys definitely rock. You've been with me since the start. But now that I'm getting like this uptick of views, I will promise to not waste this opportunity and definitely deliver you guys with much more content, whether it's critiques or whether it's ways to get to a better level, a better position in your life. So along with, the typical topics, topics of the day, or just making a video roasting pro-blacks or alt-rights or SJW lefties whenever they step out of line.
And you will see a lot of critiques on his channel. A lot. A lot. And a whole like actually the guy I used to always watch all the time. And he'll tell you, I even commented, I said, man, I like your content, man. Like, what's the problem? So you're gonna see a whole lot of hardcore frying. I mean, it's pretty brutal too, to say the least. So, and which is the reason why I had him. I've always kind of been a fan. I always have like Xanathos Clutch material, even when I had myself, 1,000 subs. I mean, I knew who he was, so I used to watch his stuff all the time. So this is it's amazing that we're working together here. So, brothers, I'm gonna take my black ass to bed. I appreciate.
You gotta get the fuck on out of here, as you like to say.
Gotta get out of here. So we got this one done, and then we'll come back next week. Tomorrow I won't be doing the hangout. Saturday I'm gonna take maybe the next 2 or 3 days off, and then I'll come back and do it. I've been doing hangouts every night. So peace out, brothers. Thanks Xanathos for the show. It was great, and see you guys later.
And one more thing.
Okay.
Oh yeah, your line. The buffoonery remains at an all-time high.
All-time high.
As for everyone else, always bet on X.
All right, guys. Peace out.